That is launched out to deep left field. Big fly for Mike Trout, 1-0 Halo. Ground ball to second base, Rengifo falls down, picks it up, fires the first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle Mariners. That is drilled out to left field. The Angels are going to have a 1-0 lead. Anthony Rendell with a big fly, his third.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Curry.
This is Joe Adele here with the Los Angeles Angels.
Brendan Marsh.
This is Chris Rodriguez.
And you're listening to the All Angels Podcast.
And welcome to another edition of the All Angels Podcast. Not a great weekend, put it bluntly. But before we get to any of that, I want to give a quick happy birthday to the man where without him, none of this is possible. The creator of the All Angels Podcast, close, dear friend, all around great guy. Happy birthday, Johnny Maggs. Happy 40th birthday. This birthday will always be remembered as the one that, probably one of the hardest ones that I've been a part of or anything like that. Would have been 40 today. I was looking forward to calling him old man, being the old man in the group. But, unfortunately, everyone has, stuff happens for a reason. But I wanted to make sure I get that out of the way right now and say, happy birthday, Johnny Maggs. We miss you. And, can't wait to see you again. And, hopefully this season turns out great for you. But this weekend, on the other hand, not so good. Obviously, there was kind of a lot of things going into this series before the series even started, whether it's, obviously Rendon not being back, not sure if he's going to be back during this series, and the guys that had been on there, that COVID type of list, the COVID, I don't know if it was a protocol or whatever they announced. They came back for the Astros, and I think that was a huge part of this series too, is the fact that they got guys back like Bregman and Maldonado and Correa and some other guys too, and the Angels were just not coming in this healthy at all. And it got worse on the Thursday game, the opening game, where Mike Trout gets hit with a fastball on his elbow. Obviously, when you saw that happen, no one thought that was good. You see the reaction. Kind of tricky. He was mic'd up during that game, and he actually said that he thought it was a slider when it really was a fastball. So he was already working his swing to go after a slider, and by the time he realized that it wasn't a slider, it was already too late and gets him in the elbow. And so he gets taken out that game. On Thursday, Alex Cobb was on the mound that day. Alex Cobb did not have a good outing at all. And honestly, besides Bundy on Sunday, no one had a good outing pitching wise. Cobb only went 2 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, walked 4, struck out 3. Just not a great outing by him. Ends up giving up 3 in the second, 3 in the third. And those were kind of the big innings, and just could not stop the ball rolling, as you will, for the Astros. And the Angels only able to get 2 runs in the 6th. So again, that was on Thursday, the opening day of the series. Again, not great. And Justin Howard kind of says it right here too. The umpires were trash. That hasn't been a thing just for the Angels. Talking to some people that connected with baseball, that's kind of been a theme for a lot of teams and a lot of worries, I guess you want to say, for Major League Baseball this year, is that the umpires have seemed to be really off this year. And it just seems like in a lot of games, you look at, I'm sure you can probably go on any kind of fan Twitter, whether it's like the Mets, the White Sox, any team Twitter. I'm sure at some point during the year they probably had a certain kind of gripe with the umpires, and it just seems like the umpires are not doing very well this season so far. And I don't know if it's don't know what it is with it. I don't know if they are just I don't know what it takes to be an umpire, to tell you the truth, besides thick skin. But it seems like you go through spring training like the players to kind of get yourself in shape, if you will, or get yourself used to the speed and get used to balls and strikes, plays, bang bang plays. You get spring training to get used to that, and it just seems like right now the umpires in general are just still kind of in that spring training mode, and it's kind of it sucks because there's a lot of plays that you would think would be real easy to get right live in person that aren't getting right, that aren't being right. And then you go to New York, but because of the way that the replay system is set up, it needs to be super definitive. It can't be wishy-washy. It has to be clear as day. Well, in some of these ballparks, they don't have as many camera views as you would, like in a playoff game. There's tons of camera views in playoff games, but during a regular season, on a random game in the late April, there's just not a lot of camera views right now. And so that's what really hurts too, is that the replay is not getting a full, view of what's going on. But those should never kind of be an issue because some of these umpires should be able to get these plays right in person. There's no excuse for that. So that kind of played a little bit into the series this week. And obviously, like I mentioned, Thursday, not a great start for the Angels. They end up losing that game to the Astros 8-2. So then we go into Friday. You're kind of hoping that was kind of a one-off. Unfortunately, Mike Trout was not in the lineup. That was kind of the theme for this weekend, was will he be in the lineup? And all weekend long, he was not in the lineup. He got hit Thursday, and that was the last we saw of him. So now going into this game, you're looking at not having Mike Trout, not having Anthony Rendon, not having Matt Stassi. That's three starters right there. Then if you want to say even Lagares, even though, he's injured and out in right field, I don't think the outfield thing has hurt that much, but definitely those three guys, Trout, Rendon, and Stassi, those are your three guys that you're missing right now. And it just seems like for this team, when they're healthy, and I think it showed early in the season when everyone was there, when this team is healthy, it is really, really good. The Angels do not have a lot of backup as far as depth in the organization. There's certain situations I remember during these games that, man, it'd be really great to have someone pitch run for, Albert or someone with speed and maybe steal a base or two. And they don't have that on the bench at all. I mean, your fastest guys are going to be obviously like Trout, who didn't play this series for the most part, and Ohtani. But other than that, you don't have like a base stealer on this team. And it'd be really nice to have that kind of a depth piece on the bench to where you're in situations, maybe you need a guy to steal second. You can put him in there in the late innings, and now he's already in scoring position, and you can generate offense that way. It just doesn't seem like the Angels have that kind of depth right now in the organization. And when series like this come up where you don't have 100%, it really looks like it shows a lot more than before. When everyone's here, when everyone's healthy, this team is really good. It's just when you start losing pieces, and when they're the key pieces like Trout and Rendon, this team really, really struggles. So we go to, like I said, Thursday game, Andrew Heaney on the mound. Kind of going to see, hey, is this Andrew Heaney, the real Andrew Heaney? Couple good starts behind him. This will be the third, good start, quality start we're hoping for as Angel fans. And he comes out and delivers. He does really, really well. He goes 6 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 10 strikeouts, but most importantly for this pitching staff, no walks. I saw a stat earlier today before the game, so it might have changed, but the Angels have the least amount of innings pitched by starting pitcher, but also have the most strikeouts and most walks. So to me, that just means that pitch counts are flying, super high. When you're leading the league in strikeout and walks, you need at least 3 pitches to strike someone out, and you need at least 4 pitches to walk somebody. So to me, they're striking out people, which is great, but when you're also walking people, you're not able to control that pitch count, and then you're getting the pitch count way up. So for Andrew to come out and not throw a single walk, get 10 strikeouts, that's exactly what they needed for this outing from Andrew. 101 pitches, great outing. Again, maybe this is something where we mentioned it last week. He moved his placement on the rubber to the first base side, and it seems like ever since he did that, he's been more and more consistent and honestly being more and more better as he's done that. So that's a huge part, hopefully, of what Andrew can kind of build on going forward. And like we mentioned, 10 strikeouts, $10 for the Tyler Skaggs Foundation in one outing. That's a great, great outing. So close game. This was a good game. And this is one of the games where the umpires kind of, didn't help at all. You have it early in the game. You have a weird play where Walsh is going down the field and Greinke was fielding the ball. It was like almost like a swinging bunt, fielded the ball. He throws it, hits Walsh in the back. He calls the runner out for not being in the baseline. Even though you look at it, I don't know where else the umpires wanted Walsh to go. Like, granted, you have the little runway on the right, but it wasn't like he was on the grass or anywhere near the grass, but yet they still call him out. So now what would have been Fletcher scoring from third on that play now has to go back because Walsh is out, and that would ultimately hurt the Angels in a lot of different ways. But this game was obviously, like I said, a game that went back and forth. You had some great plays. You had the offense kind of come alive a little bit. You have Fletcher with 3 hits, Ohtani with 2 hits. As I look through the box score real quick, everybody in the starting lineup had a hit this game. So again, but only to score 4 runs, it kind of means they're not putting it back to back to back. And you kind of wish that would happen and get more guys with runners in scoring position and not so many guys left on base. They went 5 for 18 with runners in scoring position, which isn't bad. But 9 left on base is not great. So we kind of go forward now to the later in the game. The Angels are up. They end up going to extra innings, tied 2-2. Again, another pitching duel, which was a great outing by not only Greinke, but also Andrew Heaney. Angels scored 2 in the 10th really quickly. And if you are not familiar with the extra inning rules, now when you start the 10th inning, there's the last out gets to be on second base when the extra innings start. And that's exactly what happened here. Is the extra innings happen and people Anthony Benboom started on second base, and then Fletcher ends up scoring Benboom, and it's kind of nice to see it going. You kind of felt like the momentum was going. Albert hits a line drive and gets Fletcher in to score as well, and so you kind of feel kind of good about yourself. And even though the umpires weren't great, and that's putting it mildly this series, you still feel like you should walk away with this victory. You're up 2 runs in the 10th. You have your closer coming in, and that's exactly what happened. Raziel Iglesias comes in, and again, Kyle Tucker starts on second base because of the extra inning rules. So you get 1 out right away, bam, easy. And what we're talking about is that the guy on second base doesn't mean a whole lot because of the fact that you're up 2. You can, for the most part, pitch like he's not on base. The biggest thing that you have to prevent is a home run. Well, there was a double down the line by Jason Castro. And I'm sure all you guys seen it by now. Is that down the right field line? When you look at it in live, this is what I kind of was talking about earlier. The umpire is looking right down that line. Whether it's fair or foul, he should know right away. It shouldn't be that close. Like, you look at the replay they had, because the camera view was so down the line by home plate, it's hard to distinguish whether or not it hit chalk or if it was dirt that flew up or whatever. But the umpire needs to get that right. And from everyone that I've heard is that it's foul. It's foul. Everyone thought it was foul unless you're living in Houston. But it just seems like the umpires are not. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, because it's not just the Angel games that the umpires are really involved in. It's a lot of series this season so far that the umpires are really involved in. And I just don't know what can change or what. But anyways, that ball gets down the line. He doubles. Again, you look at it and you hope that it's a foul ball. It should have been a foul ball. This could change the whole, complex of this last inning, because now he gets on ground roll double. Now you have second and third, 1 out, and only a 1-score game. So now obviously Carlos Correa comes up, sack fly, ties the game 4-4. And now you're kind of hoping just to get out of the inning and have an opportunity to come back up again in the 11th. But unfortunately, next batter comes up, hits a line drive to center field. Castro scores, game's over. Again, that's a 4-5 win for the Houston Astros. This was a game I think they could have really easily won, and I think they probably should have won. And granted, the umpires did not help at all, but when you have a 2-run lead in the 10th, you need to shut that down. It shouldn't be something like depending on to get a fair or foul call right. It needs to be don't even give them the opportunity to do that. Don't put the ball in play. Don't let a ball get hit hard. Strike out, soft contact. That's what you need in that situation, especially with a guy on second already. I honestly feel like the Angels kind of let that one slip away. And once that foul ball, quote unquote foul ball, was called fair and it was a ground rule double, I think they kind of just, it's hard to get back up and ramped up again when you kind of feel like the umpires are against you. And not saying that they thought that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened, So unfortunately, that is how that game ended. Again, a waste of a perfectly good outing by Andrew Heaney. And like I said before, 6 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 10 strikeouts, no walks. Sligers came in, had a blown save. He gave a run. Myers came in for an inning and a third. He had a good outing. Kind of bouncing. He's been bouncing back since that one outing in Anaheim against Texas last week. So that's good to see. Iglesias, again, he is so hit or miss for me right now. He is a guy that kind of like this team, to tell you the truth. When he is on and he is throwing with confidence and throwing his stuff, he looks great. He is on point. He looks unhittable. He looks like, oh my God, we'd never had a closer like this before in our life. And then when he's off, he's off. He is, he's leaving stuff over the middle. And because he throws so hard, all you got to do is kind of make some kind of a contact and that ball is going to go. So for me, Iglesias is just, almost like this team. When he's on, he looks great. And when he's off, he struggles and you're kind of have to hold on for a wild ride, to tell you the truth. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how this rest of the season kind of pans out. But, obviously losing this game like this against a good pitcher, Greinke, where you're hoping to get a win from a guy like that or against a guy like that would help a lot. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. And on Saturday, it didn't get much better. Griffin Canning took the mound. And kind of like, as we all know, Griffin Canning kind of has his issues. It seems like he's always in trouble early, but if he can get through that trouble early, he seems to settle down and be okay. And that kind of was the issue in this one, because in the first inning, he ends up giving up 3 runs, but then he goes in that second inning and does nothing. I think it's a 1-2-3 inning perfect. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, cool. He settled down. 3 runs isn't a lot, even though with the lack of offensive firepower in this lineup right now, 3 runs isn't a lot. But then he goes out and gives up 3 more runs in the third inning. And then after that point, he's yanked. He goes 2 1/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 2 home runs. And again, Junior Guerra comes in, a guy that started the season really well, pitching really well, came in and again kind of struggled the last 2 outings. He goes an inning, giving up 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 runs total, 2 strikeouts. But again, that big 4-run adding 4 runs to the deficit in 1 inning is never going to help. And then at that point, you just kind of hope that guys get out of this game healthy, because at that point it becomes one of those games where you kind of knew a position player was going to pitch at some point. You're just kind of wondering which one it was. And that ended up being Anthony Bemboom in the 9th. And with that, also had a whole bunch of different moves in the outfield and the defensive positioning. You had Rojas coming for Fletcher at second, which understandable. Before Bemboom pitched, he was actually out in left field for Justin Upton. So he comes in to pitch, but because you don't have anyone else to go in the outfield, you see Shohei Ohtani play outfield for the first time in his major league career. I personally wouldn't take too much into it. I don't think it's a huge thing that Ohtani's playing left field in this one time. It's kind of like I wouldn't take a huge inventory and Anthony Benboom pitching. I think it's one of those things where you're just trying to get guys out there just to get out of this game, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, it was really interesting to see him out there. People were kind of freaking out, like, "Oh my God, it's happening! He's out in left field, this and that." But Anthony Benboom again, catcher Anthony Benboom, won an inning, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits and a home run. But again, with the game well out of hand, again, 16-2 was the final score on Saturday. This one probably, I don't know. A lot of people have different opinions about, do close games hurt more or these blowout game hurt more? Because you have a close game that was very winnable on Friday, and then you come in Saturday, I'm guessing not feeling the best. You feel like you had one get away, and then you end up losing 16-2. I still think to the close one, on the 23rd on Friday, that was a game where they should have won, and I just think morale wasn't there on the 24th. But something we've talked about a lot this season, and I've noticed everyone that's contacted us, like either through the podcast or social media or anything like that, has said, this team morale is different. This team morale is better than years past, kind of deal. So, one game like this, I think, is completely understandable. Another, you just kind of hope it doesn't turn into a series long kind of deal. And granted, it was on Saturday, so the series was almost over anyways, but it could have been really easy for the Angels to kind of fold and get swept by the Astros and then kind of move on to the Texas Rangers for the beginning of this week. But that's not what happened. We have Dylan Bundy obviously on the mound, the Angels' number 1 pitcher, and Madden said after this game, he's an ace, and I love Madden's ability to have his players back. He's always had that. He's always had the players back, his guys' backs. But I don't know if Bundy is an ace or your definition of an ace yet. Great outing today. A bounce back from a not so great outing last time out, which you're hoping to see for a guy like Bundy to come back kind of with a chip on his shoulder. Didn't do great last time out in Anaheim against Texas, but comes back now and really, really puts it on the Astros. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and those 2 runs were off a home run in the 6th inning, or in the 7th inning, sorry, because he did start the 7th inning, if I remember correctly. But a great outing by Dylan Bundy. You can't help but to be encouraged when he's out on the mound and feel like you have a shot to win that game because of what he's done this last season and so far this season, 20 games into this year. But, it was tied 2-2 all the way into the 8th when, Shohei Ohtani comes up, nails a home run, and just, continues his run of offensive dominance, if you will. Shohei has 7 home runs right now, and as we record this Sunday night, he is tied with the major league lead for home runs, and he has been the offense, it seems like to me, this season. Obviously, Trout missing this whole series, Rendon missing now 2 series. Upton's been a great addition. Pujols has kind of turned the clock back a little bit, hit a home run on Saturday. Been hitting home runs fairly recently, or at least more recently than I expected, or rapidly, I should say, than I expected. He hit a home run Saturday. Albert did. He's at 666. So he's climbing up that all-time home run leaderboard. But Ohtani's just been a breath of fresh air, if you will. Last year, a lot of people were worried about his health and worried about him not being able to do it, and if it's too much for him and this and that. And it seems like for this year, at least at the plate, it definitely hasn't been too much. He has been producing on all different levels and has just absolutely been killing the ball, and been able to pitch. And the thing too about it, It's granted, yeah, he missed, probably a couple rotation or times through the rotation because of the blister issue. But even when he is on, or even when he is, at the plate, not pitching, he's still putting up numbers that you would love to see any offensive player put. We're talking about right now, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. His average is about 268. So, on base plus slugging is a 983. He's absolutely killing the ball. And I think that has been a big part of the offensive success for the Angels, and just Ohtani being Ohtani and letting him kind of relax. And if you see him, Darren Sutton had a good point about today's game. If you watch Sunday's game, he seems to be outwardly emotional. Like, you can read him, how he's feeling by his body language. And he seems like he's getting more comfortable like that. Like, I don't know if maybe like the first couple years or whatever, he felt like he had to fit a certain type of major league player, old school way. Don't show emotion, don't show up the pitchers, or don't do this, don't do that. And now it seems like he's not so much worried about that anymore. Like, he seems like he's out there having fun. He seems like he's out there enjoying himself. He hit a home run on Saturday as well. And again, he's running around the bases like a madman because he's not sure if it's a home run. But when he gets back to the dugout after the home run, you can tell the guys are kind of ribbing him and having a good time, as far as like, oh, why are you running so fast, stuff like that. And he just honestly seems like he's having a good time. He's having fun. So Ohtani has been absolutely carrying this team of late, and it's great to see. And hopefully now, you can start seeing guys get back into the lineup and making that lineup even more dangerous, because I truly believe when you have Rendon, when you have Trout, when you have Ohtani, when Upton is good, and when Walsh is good, that is a deep lineup, and probably one of the deepest lineups in baseball right now. So they need to get guys back. I think that's a lot of what has happened this last series, is that they didn't have their guys. Like, let's be honest, Trout might change it up. Rendon definitely changed it up. Having those two guys in for 4 of those games, a lot of things can change. And I truly believe that this is not necessarily anything really to be worried about right now. I think there's a lot that can happen right now. Again, we're only 20 games into the season. If this was last year, if this was a 60-game season, or if this was a 60-game season, that'd be a whole different story, because you are almost halfway done with the year. And that's crazy to think. 20 games into last year, we were almost halfway. And now, I mean, I'm not great with percentages, but I feel like we're only like 10, 15% of the way in, and we have a whole lot more to play. But getting back to today's game on Sunday, like I mentioned, Bundy goes 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Chris Rodriguez comes in the 7th to relieve him, gets out of a little bit of his jam. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Again, 2 more strikeouts for the Tyler Skaggs Foundation, which is great. And then Myers comes in, shuts the door down, and then Iglesias comes in again. Iglesias comes in, kind of like I mentioned before on the Friday game. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, hold on. It can be a roller coaster. And this time, it was more of him being on. He gives up 1 hit, strikes out 1, ends the game with a double play. Angels win 4-2 to, salvage at least 1 out of Houston and avoid the sweep. And with them winning today, they are back at 500, which I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like if you were to tell me 20 games into the year, Angels are at 500, I would have took it, just because the Angels have notoriously been slow starters. 2020, 2019, at this point last year, they were like, I believe 3 games under 500 and something like 5 or 6 games under 500 at those last 2 years. So again, you tell me we're at 20 games in and we're at 500, I would take that. They're at 500. Seattle's up by 2 games on the Angels, and then obviously Oakland just losing today. Feels like the first time in a long time. Are up on the American League West, but only by the Angels by 3 games. And for them to go on that huge streak and only be up 3 games on the Angels at this point is nothing to worry about. Obviously, you hope that the A's don't go on that huge streak again, but they are playing like a Tampa Bay team next, so you'll see how that goes. Seattle's playing Houston next. It seems like Houston's kind of feeling the flow a little bit more. It seems like they're being Houston again. a team that I think a lot of people thought they were going to be competitive in this division. And just because of that kind of COVID thing that hit their team for a little bit, and they lost, 5 starters. And it showed any team loses 5 starters, they're going to struggle. And that's exactly what happened with the Astros. And just they got those guys back at the worst time for Angels and Angel fans right before the series. And you can see what they're capable of when they are healthy. So another series coming up. Angels are in Texas tomorrow. Obviously, you would hope that they're able to get a little better of an outcome against Texas than they were earlier. But they will be pitching Ohtani on Monday against Jordan Lyles. Hopefully, reports are that Ohtani wants to bat also, but Madden hasn't committed to that 100% yet, so it's kind of a wait and see if he bats and pitches on Monday. Hopefully Ohtani is able to get more than 4 innings. That's the key to it. If he's going to pitch and bat in the same game, you need to get more innings out of Ohtani than just 4, because once he's out, you burn that DH spot, and now that pitching spot is just a pitch hit kind of double switch. And like I mentioned before, there's not a lot of room on that roster to get depth in there, a guy coming off the bench that's going to scare you necessarily. So hopefully he's able to go deeper into the games, and so that means he can also hit as he pitches. But another thing about this Texas series, a lot of reports are coming out, and even Trout said it himself. He expects to be in the lineup Monday, and that would be a huge lift. Now, Stassi and Rendon are also planning to be back this series. I don't know if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. I personally thought it was going to be either Sunday today or Monday that Rendon gets activated. So hopefully it's Monday. And if you get Rendon, Trout, Lagares, you can put Lagares in. Even though Scheffler has done a really good job, I have to say that during this series, stepping in for Trout, he has done a really good job. I think the Angels have good defensive depth in the outfield. Lagares, Scheffler, those guys can play really good defensive baseball. So if you have to put like a Jared Walsh out in right, you can use someone for like a defensive replacement, put Walsh on first. And I think, truthfully, that's when this lineup is probably the best, is when Scheffler or Lagares is out in right. You put Walsh down at first, and then, Albert kind of picks and chooses his spots. Like, I don't necessarily think Albert can play full time. I don't think it helps, even though he is hitting the ball hard. He is hitting a couple home runs, but I think as a whole, I think that benefits the team more so. But we'll see when Stassi gets activated. I think that's going to be a huge bump for the Angels also. But hopefully it starts with the Monday game against Texas. Again, Ohtani on the mound on Monday. 3-game series. So obviously you're going to see a game on Tuesday. All these games are a 5:00 start. All the games are on 5:00 start. So for Angel fans, myself included, it's a lot of fun just to kind of get home from work. Pretty much right when I get home from work, turn it on and it's on, and you're not up until 11 o'clock watching a game. But Tuesday, Jose Quintana versus Mike Foltynewicz. Quintana had a really good outing last time, had a better outing. I think same thing with Andrew. He moved where his placement was on the rubber. And I think that helped him. Now let's see if he can put like 2 good outings back to back. Quintana is, again, I think has some of the worst luck so far. If you're talking about individual players on the Angels, he's had really bad luck just in that Toronto game, then getting pushed back, not being able to pitch in the Minnesota series because of the whole COVID thing. But he did come out last time, pitched really well. Foltynewicz, hopefully we get to him a little bit better than we did last time. I know we hit him around, but it just didn't seem like we got enough to put the game away. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, the series finale. Again, 5:00 game. Angels have an off day on Thursday. So this game is also at 5:00. It's not going to be your typical getaway day, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or whatever. They're going to play at 5:00 today or on Wednesday. Alex Cobb looks to bounce back after his start against Houston, which wasn't great. And we kind of talked about that a little bit in the beginning of the podcast, that, he was starting to look really, really good as, the season started and had this minor speed bump. And hopefully he can be kind of like what Bundy was when Bundy had his speed bump, and come back the next outing and kind of have a chip on the shoulder and kind of see that um, he knows he can do better, and hopefully he's able to do better because at the end of the day, Alex Cobb, Bundy, and Heaney are going to be three guys that have to carry the pitching load for this team. I'm not sure about Quintana yet; still kind of iffy on him. Canning, for a guy that's so young, has so much potential, I'm just worried about the psyche part of it. Is he too much in his head? Is he too emotional on the mound? Is he um, not able to kind of brush off? If a guy hits a double, is he able to brush it off and just kind of, okay, focus on the next guy? Or is he thinking about the word I messed up or stuff like that? So Canning is kind of worrisome a little bit right now. Otani, you just have to worry about him being healthy. He has it. He has to be healthy. So every outing that he's able to pitch and get out of healthy, I think is a plus. But Alex Cobb, Dylan Bundy, Andrew Heaney, I think those three guys will take this team as far as they go. You're not looking for the Grom stuff where he's going to complete game 15 strikeouts and no runs. But if you can get six innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, something like that would really, really help. And hopefully Cobb can bounce back from that start. Dane Dunning is the pitcher for Texas that day. And again, this is the last outing in Texas before they go to Seattle actually next weekend. But they are off Thursday. And because of the late start on Wednesday, the 5:05 start on Wednesday, and an off day the next day, there's a very good chance we will do our next podcast Thursday, the 29th, where we can have all the games, talk about all the games for the Texas Rangers. Obviously, look ahead to Seattle, three game series with Seattle up in Seattle, which, you do what you need to do against Texas right now. You have that 3-game series in Seattle. Again, if you take care of business there, now you're really looking at jumping over Seattle and back into second place. So for all the struggles that they've had, for all the, ups and downs and pitching woes, and I agree with a lot of people, those need to be fixed pretty quickly. And especially the bullpen seems to be kind of very up and down, which was kind of seemed like a strength earlier in the year. Now is kind of being worrisome. Do you think it's a quick hiccup in the bullpen guys, if it's or if it's a long-term deal with what's going on with the bullpen right now? I'm not sure, but I think obviously in the next week or so it'll start playing itself out. Felix Pena still has not been activated too, and that's another thing that I am just waiting for, is that Felix Pena, last weekend, a week ago, was thought to be coming back then, and he still hasn't been brought up to the major leagues, and he's not on the taxi squad. So that makes me think, even if he is ready and there is some kind of an injury, it seems like the rules for this season is that you can only bring up guys that are on the taxi squad, because last time the Angels were on the road, they used every single person, and he's not on that squad on this trip. So you would think you're going to have to wait for the next homestand possibly to see him. And like I mentioned, they're going against Texas, they're going against Seattle, and then they're not going to be home again until the 3rd of May against Tampa Bay. Maybe you see him then, maybe you don't, but it definitely seems like we're gonna have to wait another week before we even have an opportunity to see Felix Pena. And you would think Felix Pena would be another step in making that bullpen solidify, and be better, because we mentioned it a lot of times before. Joe Madden really, really liked him. Joe Madden really used him quite a bit last year in a lot of different situations. So you would think he would use him the same way this year, but we'll have to wait and see, because like I mentioned, I think he'll be a huge part of this bullpen and really locking it down for the Angels. So we'll have to wait and see. Not too sure about any other kind of roster moves, again, you're kind of hoping to see Rendon and Stasi and Lagares be activated in this upcoming series against Texas, and also not really activated. I mean, he's active, but have Mike Trout back in the lineup for the Angels this season or this series, because it's been a huge, you can tell the difference. You can tell a difference in the lineup. You can tell a difference when he's out. And to beat some of these teams, you're going to have to be close at full strength. So we'll have to wait and see for that one. But I wouldn't panic just yet. Again, we're only 20 games in, 10-10, not healthy. Once we get the guys back and they are pretty close to full strength, let's see how this team plays out. If this team plays out and continues to win ball games, continue to win series, then, like I mentioned, there's nothing to worry about. If the struggles still continue with having a full squad, then yeah, you might have to panic a little bit, or might have to rethink about what this team is going to do moving forward for the season. But, Rendon comes back, Trout comes back. You get these pitchers some kind of lead, whether it be 3-4 run lead, they tend to pitch a little different. They tend to pitch a little more relaxed. And I think that will help these starters and these guys out of the bullpen, is when you're able to give them a little bit of a cushion and there's not such a high stress every single time. And obviously there's going to be a stress every once in a while, but if you can get a game in where it's not high stress, and I think about to the Minnesota game in Anaheim a week or so ago, it just seemed like once they're able to put more runs on the board, the pitching just kind of flowed and made it a lot easier because they're not so stressed. And I think if the Angels can get up early and keep the lead, that helps out too with your starters. Maybe there's a little more leash with them, so they're not getting taken out at the 5th inning, 6th inning because it's a 1-run game. Maybe Madden lets them go to the 7th inning because it's a 4 or 5 run game, and now you're not putting a lot of pressure on that bullpen. So we'll see how it goes. Again, not the best weekend in Houston, but I wouldn't panic just yet. Houston is a good team. They got all their guys back. At the same time, the Angels were losing guys. So it's definitely not a 1-for-1 kind of deal. It's like, Houston probably should have won some of those games because of just the guys they had on the field. And the Angels lost a couple guys on the field when Trout went down, more than a couple. So I'm not too worried. Let's see what happens in Texas. Let's see what happens when they get guys back. And hopefully Trout is able to get back, tomorrow. And hopefully that means Rendon gets activated and Stasi gets activated. And you're starting to see more and more of that opening day lineup that is very, very dangerous, because we've seen it. The fans have seen it. Everyone's seen it. This lineup, when healthy, is dangerous. And I think that's what they need to get back to, is pitchers knowing that if they give up a run, that's fine. My offense can pick it up. Right now, it's like pitchers are pitching like, if I give up a run, this might be it, because we don't have a lot of offensive firepower. But once these guys get back in the lineup, good things will happen. I have a feeling. So hopefully it keeps on going. Hopefully the umpires get better. Hopefully there's some kind of a email or memo that's going around right now with the umpires and saying, get your shit together. Because honestly, they have been really, really bad. We'll see how that plays out for the rest of the year. But, that's for everybody. That's not just for the Angels. So we'll see how that goes. Before we go, quick update on our Tyler Skaggs Foundation strikeout count. Right now we have Chris and Andrew Heaney looking for Phoenix Payne to get back on the mound so he can add to this. But as of right now, at the end of today, Andrew Heaney, behind his 10 strikeout appearance this weekend, he has 29 strikeouts this season so far, and Chris Rodriguez has 16 strikeouts this so far, for a total of $45. So we're 20 games in, $45 already raised for the Tyler Skaggs Foundation. So obviously it's only going to go from here. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And congratulations, Chris Rodriguez, for your first major league win. He did end up getting the win today when he came in to relieve Bundy. So that's great for him. Good for him. Hopefully more of those that come in his career. But shout out to Chris. Shout out to Andrew. Keep putting in the good work. and we'll keep on counting these strikeouts. And that kind of reminds me too, Mother's Day, 2 weeks from today, we'll be putting out a special podcast and YouTube video. So it's only going to be on YouTube. It's not going to be on our Twitter or Facebook. It's going to be just on our podcast and YouTube, an interview with Debbie Skaggs as a Mother's Day special. Last year I did one with Sonia Marsh. This year I'm doing one with Debbie Skaggs. It'll be out Sunday morning for Mother's Day. Obviously we'll probably still put out a separate podcast that day for what happened during the Dodger series, a big series. So we'll probably put 2 out that day, but there'll be a Mother's Day special with Debbie Skaggs, and there will be a regular podcast on Mother's Day. But really looking forward to doing that. It's already done. Going to edit it up, make it nice, and put it out there for Mother's Day. But you're definitely not going to want to miss that. If you knew how the kind of person Tyler was, if you knew how he was with us on the podcast and the story behind it, the foundation, and everything like that, you're definitely going to want to tune in for that. And that, again, is coming out Sunday, Mother's Day, in the morning interview that I had with Debbie Skaggs, talking about Tyler, how it was to raise a future Major League Baseball player, how it was when he's in the major leagues, and then ultimately how it is with the foundation and all the good stuff they're planning to do this summer with baseball programs out in that area, out in the Santa Monica, LA area. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the All Angels podcast. Again, we'll be back Thursday for the talk about the the Texas series, and look ahead to Seattle. I think a very pivotal series pretty early in the season to see if Seattle's legit, and we'll find out. So if you have any questions, email us at allangelspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's allangelspodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on our social media feeds. That's Halo_Haven on Twitter and on Instagram. There you'll find the updates, the updates of when the podcast will happen next and all that great stuff. So without any further ado, one more time, happy birthday, Johnny Maggs. We miss you. Happy 40th. Wishing you were here celebrating with us, but we know you're somewhere better. I am Dan Garcia, and that's been another edition of the All Angels podcast.